Reba McEntire walks into a recording studio at 69. Same voice, same authority, and half the room doesn't realize they're standing in a world she built. Not because she demanded credit, but because what she built stopped looking revolutionary. Early in her career, Reba gambled on something country music wasn't sure would hold up. That adult women could carry songs without chasing youth. That serious stories didn't need to rush toward hope. That authority could be calm. At first that sounded risky, then it didn't, and that's when it mattered. Reba's songs didn't ask the listener to feel sorry. They didn't explain themselves. They assumed you were listening closely. Women who stayed, women who left, women who understood the cost before making the choice. That wasn't drama, that was adulthood. And when that tone succeeded at the highest level, expectations shifted quietly. Songs slowed down. Ballads stopped apologizing for their pace. Before Reba, he cheated, so I burned his truck. After Reba, I left because I finally wanted to. Divorce songs stopped needing a villain. Aging wasn't framed as loss. It was framed as clarity. Even when Reba wasn't on the radio, the rules she proved still were. Producers leaned into restraint instead of urgency. Songwriters trusted silence instead of punchlines. Radio programmers stopped asking, "Is she relatable?" and started asking, "Does she sound believable?" That influence didn't spread through imitation. Permission doesn't announce itself. It shows up as courage someone else already paid for. Before Reba, a 35-year-old woman singing about consequence was a risk. After Reba, it became a format. By the early 1990s, that permission was already visible. A woman in her 30s signs a record deal. She's already proven herself as a songwriter. Her songs aren't about escape, they're about decisions. Marriage without fantasy, leaving without triumph, staying without apology. Her album comes out. Her label wants a hit single. She gives them a song about a 40-year-old woman choosing herself. No redemption arc, no new man waiting, just choosing. It charts at number 38. Her A&R rep says, "We'll take it." 10 years earlier, he would have said, "We're done." Critics call it mature. Radio calls it steady. A decade earlier, those same words would have meant limited. Now they meant bankable. The record doesn't dominate, but it lasts. It finds listeners who recognize themselves in the songs. That path didn't exist clearly before Reba. Not loudly, not officially, but it existed because she proved it could. Reba didn't create a movement people had to defend. She created a standard. You can hear it in songs about leaving that don't celebrate it, in songs about staying that don't romanticize it, in lyrics that trust silence as much as melody. Those patterns didn't appear by accident. They appeared because someone already showed they could survive. And that survival mattered later. When country radio tightened formats in the late 90s, when demographics shifted, when trends sped up in the 2000s and 2010s, artists who carried Reba's restraint didn't vanish. They adapted without reinventing themselves. The idea of the mature woman artist didn't feel risky anymore. It felt bankable, not flashy, not urgent. That's why Reba never needed a comeback narrative, never needed reinvention. She didn't age out of relevance. She outlasted the cycle that makes relevance temporary. At 69, she isn't a legacy act. She's still working because the things she normalized don't expire. Authority, adulthood, consequence. What changed is how those qualities are perceived. What once felt bold now feels familiar. And familiarity is the final stage of influence. Reba didn't lose relevance. She removed the need to point at what she changed, which is why her presence still matters. Not because she stands alone, but because she proved a lane that still holds. At 69, Reba McEntire isn't a reminder of the past. She's proof that revolution doesn't always look like a fight. Sometimes it looks like a woman at 69, still holding the microphone, still singing about consequence. while the room forgets how much work it took to make that feel normal.